All right. This is the Maze Blue and Gold show. I am Maze Madman. That is Ryan
Lakers and eight
Lakers.
for an eight for them.
Man, what's going on?
Not much, man. Not much. Kind of been lonely in the
That
sports
is.
verse
There we go.
because my Lakers got eliminated earlier than I expected. So
I mean, you
they
might have been the only one. Not. By the way, I mean they won a game. I'm surprised they did that.
didn't get swept
Every
this time.
every game was close. You can rest on that, right?
We,
It took two game winners from Murray.
no,
But yeah, the Lakers are home fishing,
we're in Cancun. It's all right.
right? LeBron is unclear on his future. How's that make you feel?
Oh, you know, LeBron just says certain things because you know how he is. He's a headlines maestro.
Yeah,
It's all a leverage play. He's gonna come back to LA, um, because the Lakers are willing to do whatever it takes to make sure he comes back.
yeah,
Whether that give him
including
a blank check. Here, Bron, you sign for how much you want.
right.
We're gonna draft your son. We're gonna draft Bronny, and we'll give you a no trade clause. So yeah, everything in more. So he's gonna be a Laker.
Yeah, I actually am confident that he will be a Laker too. But that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk Michigan football and Notre Dame football. Unfortunately, um,
Yeah.
Notre Dame. A lot of people called you guys irrelevant. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people said Notre Dame is a dormant program. A lot of people said Notre Dame would never win a national championship. What do you say to that, Ryan?
Well, if we weren't relevant, would people feel the need to have to say we were irrelevant?
Would you feel the need to say it?
Yep.
So I mean, look, I'm
Yeah.
one of the people. So I wouldn't say Notre Dame is an irrelevant program, by the way. Um, but I will say that Notre Dame does get a lot of notoriety and they're on television and people are talking about them um even when you guys have bad seasons. It's and especially almost when you have bad seasons, people talk about you more than if you had like a 10-2 or 11-1 season, right? Um so that makes them relevant. I don't think they could ever not be relevant just based on like their history in college football.
Yeah.
Also, they've got the only exclusive, network contract deal in all of college football, which makes them relevant because
Yep.
they're on your screen every Saturday, basically. Uh, but in terms of like results, right? No natty since 1988. That's a long time. You have been to the playoffs, the college football playoffs twice. You did reach a BCS
National
national
championship.
championship, uh, and lost to Alabama and to Clemson and Alabama
And
again in the
again,
playoff, right? So you guys are around. They're around. You picked up Riley Leonard this offseason. How you feel about that? Is the Riley Leonard thing? Is it better than last year's pickup at
well,
quarterback?
I believe so, but there is no evidence to support that claim because we have not seen him play because of two, back to back ankle surgeries he's had this spring. Um, didn't play at all, in the spring game, obviously, which was kind of nice because we got to see what our young QB room looks like and what it were to look like
Right.
without Riley Leonard. But I have confidence that he'll be ready to go week one against A&M. But I'm more confident than I've been in a long time with Notre Dame quarterback room being like, all right, if Riley goes down, knock on wood,
Right.
whether that be in Jelly, Minchie, or CJ Carr, I'm completely confident that they'll go out there and compete.
Okay. I saw some of your spring game. Let's start there. Let's start with Notre Dame. That's not how you spell Dame. Uh, with Notre Dame spring game, um, you obviously saw it in its entirety. What did you take from it?
CJ Carr is absolutely, positively him. What he was coming out of high school. Um, there's no reason he shouldn't have been a 5-star. He, let's say this, he outplayed every single quarterback in that spring game.
Mm,
And it wasn't like Angeli or Minchie played like crap. They all
right.
had similar stats. But if you go out there and you watch how CJ Carr threw the football, you would have thought he had been a 2-year starter at Notre Dame.
Right.
That's how good he looked. I've never seen a quarterback throw that beautiful of a deep ball
Oh my
since.
God. Come
No, I'm
on.
being serious. Since Jimmy Clausen. Jimmy Clausen had a terrible team around him,
Yeah.
but Jimmy Clausen was probably the best Notre Dame quarterback we've had since Joe Montana in terms of pure talent and arm talent.
Yeah.
Um, that's what I see in CJ. And I do think it is ironic that there were some Michigan fans in my spring game post that said, if CJ was any good, he'd be at Michigan right now. which, uh, which, Phil, I know you're not one of them people,
Right.
because I know that Michigan did in fact want CJ Carr at one point. But yeah, he's definitely everything and more. I think Angeli is definitely the odd man out though. I think if
Um.
anyone transfers, he's gonna transfer.
Real. So you think on the depth chart that Carr is above Angeli right now?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
I just think that Mike Denbrock's offense, right? Anywhere he's been, right, where he's had success. Why was he successful with uh oh god, why am I blanking on the Cincinnati quarterback?
Uh.
Ritter, Desmond Ritter.
There
He
you go.
was he was an athletic mobile QB. What did he do with Jaden Daniels? Athletic mobile QB.
Hmm.
What is CJ Carr? He's not as athletic as Jaden Daniels or Desmond Ritter, but he can move. He's a
Hmm.
mobile QB. Kenny
Hmm.
Minchie, mobile QB, very mobile. What is Stephen Jelly? Pocket passer, not very mobile. He's a mixture of Drew Pine and Sam Hartman. Um, so that's where I think you get caught up in the scheme fit, and think about it. If Freeman thought Angeli was ready to start or was their guy, why go get Riley Leonard?
Absolutely. Let me take this time, by the way. Be sure to hit the like button, like the channel, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Um, yeah, do that now. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of this video. So if you haven't subscribed, do it now. Um, Back to it. So the Notre Dame quarterback room consists of Riley Leonard, who nobody's seen all spring. Is he supposed to be back by fall
Yeah,
camp?
he's
Right,
already he was in a walking boot
right,
2 weeks before the spring game, and was like on one of those little scooters. And
right.
then the week after his surgery was out of the boot, out of the wasn't on the scooter anymore, and was planting on that same leg and
Yeah,
throwing passes. He just wasn't participating in full blown practice.
right. So Riley Leonard, there's CJ Carr, there's Angeli, there's Minchie, um, in the quarterback room. What's the word out of Notre Dame in terms of like the quarterback room and who people are talking about at the quarterback position in South Bend?
CJ Carr and Kenny Minchie. That's been the thing that's been talked about all spring is whoever wins between them two,
Right.
between spring camp and fall camp, is going to decide who the starter is for 2025. Um, the thing with Minchie is if you go back and you watch the spring game, he's very mobile. If I
Mhm.
could, kind of give a cop of his play style, kind of like I'm not saying he is Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, but he
Mhm.
has that same play style where he's at his best when the play breaks down and he's
Mhm.
off schedule. However, what gets him into trouble is his legs, which are also what makes him so good. Um, a lot of times, and it's because he didn't get a lot of live game reps this past year because he was a freshman. Um, there were about 5 plays where he stared down his first read. Our defense is good enough to be like, okay, we know who you want to throw that. We know who you want to throw that. We're going to lock him up.
Mhm.
When that happened, 5 straight plays, you could tell his eyes freaked out. He stopped looking downfield and he looked to run. Well,
Mm.
those running lanes closed quick. So then he tended to freak out more. And if that was a real game, Phil, that would have been 5 interceptions for Minchie.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was. Um, but then you look at the positives in that game, and there was a play where he got absolutely drilled. By the way, because I don't know if Michigan did this, but Steve and Jelly was the only one wearing the red jersey not to hit.
Mhm.
CJ Carr and Kenny Minchie were both live, so they could get blitzed, cracked, hit, whatever the defense wanted to do, they could do to him.
Yeah.
Minchie got absolutely crushed on a zero blitz called by Al Golden
Wow.
while getting crushed through a 40-yard bomb to freshman receiver Micah Gilbert in the back of the end zone. So that's the type of stuff he can do, but we just haven't seen it because he hasn't played and he's still, very young, has to get fixes, of course, Oregon or whatever. Uh, he did get murdered basically every play. I will say that. Our defense loves to hit quarterbacks. Uh, but no, yeah, Minchie, that's the thing is he just got to get used to that. But CJ Carr, he couldn't do anything wrong in that game. He didn't throw any picks.
Yeah.
I believe he was 17 for 23, about 150 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions. So,
Yeah.
he played really well.
Yeah, it sounds like a good night for or good day rather for your quarterbacks. Let me ask this. Let me because I want to know and I know there's some fans of a certain school who want to know. Uh you guys were tackling from the first whistle on.
Yep,
Live tackling,
live
right?
tackling. Yeah, we're
Right.
not Ohio State.
Exactly, right? As it should be. There's no thud, which by the way, thud is hilarious because it means you're not
Dude.
thudding. But what do you expect from a program and a team that's been called soft as much as they
Dude,
have?
and you know what? Like, I saw our fans like, why is CJ Carr and Kenny Minchie? Why are they getting why are they live?
Mhm.
Why are we allowing them to get blitzed and absolutely murdered in the pocket? Well, you know why? Because how else are you going to get these young guys ready for in-game, live
Right.
reps?
Yeah.
Because guess what? And when you're playing Texas A&M, CJ Carr goes out there, you think Texas A&M is going to be like, all right, I thudded you. You're
I
down.
thudded you. I
I
thud you
thudded you.
from 5 yards away. I thud you.
You-
I I now bethud you.
yes, you are
So
down.
here's the thing. We know that a certain program who has been associated with the likes of Charmin and,
Yeah.
and other things soft was not tackling in the first half of their football game, first quarter, whatever it was. They weren't tackling. Carr looked good, but the wide receivers left a lot to be desired. Gilbert looked the best, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
Go
what do you
ahead,
say to
finish.
that? What do you think about
Well, to
that
be
comment
fair,
there?
uh, 2 of our starting receivers, or actually 3 of our starting receivers, did not play in the spring game due to injury. 5-star receiver Cam Williams that we signed in this and with CJ Carr in this class did not participate as well. The transfer receiver from Marshall that was going to get a lot of reps, he did not play. So we were playing with mainly our second and third team receivers, besides Gilbert. Gilbert and Greathouse were the only two like main guys that were going to get tons of snaps this year that played. And Gilbert's a true freshman, and him looking like the best receiver says a lot as a true freshman. He was going up against our starting DBs, by the way, who, we know that they're very good. So, yeah.
No doubt. What do you guys think about the soft caps? Oregon wore them in the spring game. I heard they're allowing them in games. I think they look goofy.
Yeah,
I agree about the aesthetic. They definitely don't look the best. But, I mean, if it's anything that can help, kids or anybody not suffer, brain injury, then whatever.
Yeah, I don't like the whole wearing caps for a spring game. I don't like the whole making a spring game into this. I'm not saying Oregon did this because no one's going to touch the level of thudding like the other state. But what's the point of having a spring game if you're not going to allow live tackling?
Yeah,
I understand the quarterback stuff. Like if you want to put your quarterback in a red jersey, I understand that. But if I'm a running back, I'm a receiver, why can't they get hit? Like, what? I don't understand it, but yeah. And Notre Dame 2164 says Carr did look amazing. I don't know. Did you say you got to watch a little bit of Notre Dame spring game?
Yeah, I actually saw Carr play, which is interesting. The touchdown pass was nice. I liked it. I saw you get into a back and forth with some people on Twitter. I believe they were fans of the other state, by the way, who said that if that was like a good safety, that would have been picked off. I disagree. That was a pretty good.
He threw it perfectly over the top of the safety's head.
Yeah, I mean, for what was out there, it was the best. It was a perfect pass, so I can't be mad at that. Let's move on a little bit because I know we got some things to cover. I'll go quickly over Michigan spring game because I've done this a couple times now, but yeah, so there could be a bit of a quarterback controversy. I can see why people would think that Davis Warren threw the only touchdown passes in the game, 2 of them, by the way, one to Kendrick Bell, the little brother of Ronnie Bell, who now plays for the 49ers. So in the other, I can't remember the kid's name. It's escaping me. Somebody help me in the comment section. He's like one of my sleepers too. But anyway, he threw that. That was like a crossing route that turned into a touchdown, drag route that turned into a touchdown. So he threw the only touchdowns. He looked pretty good in the pocket. I will give him that. And I'm speaking of Davis Warren here. Alex Orji, first drive, little shaky in terms of passing the ball. He obviously ran a touchdown, but that's what a strength of his is his athleticism and ability to, scramble. He settled in a little bit, completed some passes, a couple decent ones, but for the most part, throwing the ball, it looked like Davis Warren looked the most comfortable. We did see freshman Jaden Davis out there. He didn't really do much of anything. He had one nice pass to O'Leary that the defensive back Jair Hill broke up. If O'Leary could have hung on to that would have been really nice. It was like you got Moss type catch, but the defensive back did a great job knocking it out of his hand. So there's that. In terms of Michigan's quarterback situation, like I explained, right now it looks like Alex Orji and Davis Warren at the top of that thing. People are still talking about Jack Tuttle. I'm not worried about Jack Tuttle. I don't think he is really challenging for this, no matter what Sherrone Moore says. But that's where Michigan stands right now in terms of the quarterback room and the quarterback battle. A guy that I was talking about preseason before the spring game, Denegal. Yeah. I was high on Jaden Denegal. He looked like he wasn't good. Let me say that. He completed one nice pass, like a 7 route. Um, but other than that, he looked like a deer in headlights. He threw what should have been 2 interceptions. Only one of them was intercepted by DJ Waller, who then promptly jumped into the spring portal. But so
Yeah.
there's that. But yeah, so Denegal at the bottom of the heap for me right now. That was not what I was expecting from him. But yeah,
I did see that one highlight that came out. Was it the one guy you were talking about threw that beautiful deep ball that the guy caught in the back of the end zone?
oh yeah, that's
You talked
Davis
about, yeah,
Warren, and
yeah,
that was Kendrick Bell,
that was a beautiful ball.
right?
Um, like Lucas says, here in the comments, Michigan will have a fierce front seven, but I don't see the offense being good enough to keep up this. Like, do you agree with this? Because I could see it. I think this year, especially with the question marks at quarterback, because we don't know
Yeah,
what Morgie and the rest
yeah,
of those guys are. I think you guys will see a heavy dose of Donovan Edwards this year,
yeah.
and Colston Loveland. But what are your thoughts on this take from Lucas?
So I do think we take a step back in terms of the quarterback play for sure, no matter which one of them is the quarterback, right? I don't care if it's Davis Warren. I don't care if it's Alex Orji. I don't care if it's Davis Warren's arm on Alex Orji's body. We take a step back from having
A top 10
JJ
quarterback?
McCarthy, right? So I'll say that. Now, here's the thing. Defensively, I think I'll save the defense. I'll save that. On speaking just on the offense, obviously, I do think Donovan Edwards is going to get a bulk of the carries. He might be ran more than anybody in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So there's that. I think Colston Loveland is a difference maker. We just got in the transfer portal Amorian Walker, who transferred out and then transferred back in before he ever took a snap at Ole Miss. So I think he can help at receiver, but Samaj Morgan is a beast. I will say that. I like his attitude. I like Tyler Morris. Tyler Morris proved that he can do it on the biggest stage. He performed well against Alabama. He's a dog. But we don't have a big receiver that can really that anybody is really afraid of blowing the top off, which I think Amorian Walker, by the way, pause. I think Amorian Walker can step into that role if he is sharp enough in terms of route running and things like that. So that's what I will say. I do think we take a step back on offense. How big that step is to be determined, but I think the defense is good enough. I think we can run the ball effectively enough to compete with anybody.
Yeah, I think anytime put my opinions on JJ McCarthy aside, anytime you have a top 10 quarterback that ends up, or not a top 10 quarterback, a top 10 draft pick in the NFL draft, leave your college, you can't expect the guys behind him to be exactly the same. But I do think you're going to see a heavy dose of, Donovan Edwards. The thing about, I'm surprised you guys let Amorian Walker come back. That is like a very rare thing you see in today where it's like, oh, I want to leave. Okay, bye. I'm going to go to Ole Miss. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not happy over here at Ole Miss. Hey, Michigan, can I come back? I still got a spot. Like, how do you feel about that? Because,
yeah,
I'm surprised that you guys took him back.
So, honestly, I'm excited about it. We need his level of athleticism, his level of potentially what he can be, right? There's not a wide receiver on the Michigan roster right now that has the potential of Amorian Walker. Yeah. You know what I mean? Let me take that back, because I am a huge fan of Amarion Stewart. I think his footwork is amazing. He's like Antonio Brown level footwork, at least out in high school. But he isn't part of the 2-3 deep right now. So he's a true freshman. But outside of that, and he's another one of these little guys. He's Samaj Morgan, or what Carmelo English was, these guys, those 6 foot 5'11" type guys. that are like slot hybrid guys. But uh, in terms of what Amorian Walker can be, I'm excited about it. I was not excited when he left. I didn't like it, but then he came back. I'm excited. I'm okay with it. We never had to play against him. He never took a snap for that other team. So, it is what it is.
Lucas says, lucky for Michigan, they only play 2 good offenses this year. I
I mean,
disagree. Texas
who,
has a good offense. Ohio State.
man, Texas lost a lot. I think you're giving Texas a lot of credit. I
They're
think
going
they
to have
lost a lot.
receivers.
I mean, I guess they've
What
got
about?
unproven receivers right now.
Yeah, but we know Texas recruits receivers like that. That's like they're like LSU with that stuff. They always
No, I mean Ohio State recruits receivers, but so what? Ohio State arguably recruits receiver better than everybody in America, right?
What about Oregon? Or you guys play Oregon, right?
We play Oregon.
Yeah, that's
We
an
play
offense.
Oregon. No, that's one of the 2 I think he's talking about, right? Is
USC has an offense according to USC
I'm
fans.
not worried about USC. I'm gonna be real with you. USC is gonna get pushed around the field all day. I'm not worried about it. At least this year, I'm not worried about them.
Oh, we all know about what USC does when they play the Midwest type of football.
Right. Texas has a quarterback. That's it. I agree. See, this is where we are in agreement here. I think Texas has a quarterback. I think the Manning kid looked good in their spring game. Did you see?
Oh
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm not worried about the receivers. If I'm being honest, I think
their defense is still
atrocious. They've got to prove it. They got to prove it. Huh?
That's the one thing. Their defense is atrocious.
Exactly, and they lost. They lost like the best player on that defense. So, yeah. I'm really. The only thing that gives me some cause for pause with the Texas game is that it's coming in week 2, right after we play. With a lot of people are going to overlook that first week against Fresno State is not going to be like some just, gimme game. We might win that game by multiple touchdowns, but the point is Fresno State is a good program, right? Like they're a decent Mountain West team or Mountain West program. They have been. And then we turn right around and play Texas in week 2. I mean, it could be a good primer for Texas. It could work one of 2 ways.
And since Michigan's going to be a lot younger, you'll have to deal with these younger guys being like, hey, we got Texas next week. Playing Fresno State, I think Michigan is in a good spot. The quarterback to me is like the biggest.
That's the biggest question mark. I agree. Yeah.
Ohio State and Oregon, the rest aren't close. T-Sweat tighten up, yeah. The thing with Ohio State, I even heard that Will Howard didn't really do much to impress in the spring game. So
Will Howard,
they call him Bill. They call him Bill Howard over there at Ohio State right now.
So let's talk about the other state really quickly. And I know that this kind of blasphemous. I really don't like talking about these guys, but let's talk about it. They pick up Will Howard in the transfer portal, right? And at the time, that team, they're excited about it.
Yeah,
we got Will Howard, blah, 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 right? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You got Will Howard. Devin Brown is on that team still.
Yeah.
He refuses to see the writing on the wall that he will not be the quarterback. But whatever. Then the Julian Sayin kid, flips his commitment from Alabama to Ohio State. Aaron Nolan's already there. They just got Tavian St. Clair, in the next class. So
Lincoln Kinholz is still there.
Lincoln Kinholz, right? Can't forget about that. It would seem that they have an embarrassment of riches at the quarterback position, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if you saw that spring game.
I did not.
I'm not impressed. And I get that it's only the spring, right? They got time. There will be fall ball. They got plenty of time to work it out. But I got to be honest. I think they got Will Howard for the threat of him with his feet. Especially they're trying to find answers for Michigan, and right now they're scrambling and. They thought, hey, let's get somebody who actually scrambles and add that variable in there.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing right now. I think they are in a vicarious position. If Will Howard ends up being the quarterback, we're going to kill them. Let me say that. Look, I think Devin Brown is their best option. I like Devin Brown.
I think it's hilarious to me that when they got Will Howard, Ohio State fans were cheering from the rooftops about how they're finally going to beat Michigan because they got a quarterback who's not named Kyle McCord.
Right.
They have.
By the way, Kyle McCord, if he were still on the team, would be the best option at quarterback. Yeah. But
by the way, did you see? I don't know if you saw. Kyle McCord looked pretty damn good in the series.
He did, and of course the other state fans were like, "Oh, he's played against Syracuse, and that read was late, and like they play quarterback, like they know how to break these things down. It's ridiculous. These people are hilarious.
Funny that they're all beating the Will Howard drum,
yeah,
and then spring camp happens, and all of a sudden. He's not Will Howard anymore. He's Bill Howard, and he's got to earn the right to be called Will Howard, because Brown is better than him, Kinholz is better than him, Sand is better than him, Noland is better than him, and they don't want Will Howard to play. So which one is it? Which one is it?
They're so desperate, man. Look, they're already pushing the narrative that this Jeremiah Smith kid is going to be better than Marvin Harrison, which he may very well be. I'm not speaking against. I saw he looks like a senior right now, like in terms of his body, right? Pause. But yeah, he doesn't have who's going to get him the football.
Look like our best guy. I didn't watch the Oregon spring game.
I did not see it. I didn't even know that I missed it. No disrespect, respectfully.
Respectfully, but disrespectfully. But since we're in the same conference now.
Right. I wanted to see that. I wanted to see their spring game because I wanted to see how they look. Because Oregon is a team you got to keep an eye out for.
Howard is the Sam Hartman of OSU.
Pretty much.
Now
I can't let you off the hook here, Ryan, because you were telling us last year that Sam Hartman was going to be the difference maker and that you guys were going to blow through that ACC schedule.
Hey, he was the difference maker. He was the difference between going 12-0 and 9-3.
Right.
But no, I think we've talked enough about the other state. They don't. When you're out here thudding people in the spring,
it's gross, man. It's disgusting.
It's disgusting.
And then they're gonna wonder why they're getting pushed around and ran over.
Man, we're getting dominated by Indiana again, week 1. What's going on?
That was a real scare for them. They were in real trouble against Indiana.
Indiana was pushing them boys around.
Listen, I'm gonna say. I don't know if you saw the Penn State game, the other state Penn State game last season, but Igbinosun may have made the play of the year for Ohio State. And when they went for that fake, and if he doesn't come from the other side of the field to make that tackle, that guy's going to score. And that's a completely different game at that point.
Yeah. Just like DJ Brown is their season MVP, the guy that dropped the game-sealing interception for Notre Dame. Just crazy. Disgusting. Anyway, what is going on the Michigan recruiting front, Phil? Some small school from the southern part of the United States and a state that is considered the bluegrass state, somehow taking recruits from Michigan. What is going on?
Listen. I don't know who at Michigan pissed these guys off, right? But they clearly have it out for the University of Michigan and anybody that Michigan thinks they're gonna land. And here's the crazy part is it's not like these people are. Marquise Davis's recruitment went like this: crystal ball to Ohio State. Tony Alford flips to Michigan, right? Tony Alford makes some inroads, crystal ball to Michigan, and then on decision day out of nowhere, Kentucky. All right. The Smith twins. Crystal ball to Notre Dame. Right. Crystal ball to Michigan. Commit to Michigan. Out of nowhere, here comes Kentucky. Now, granted, that one is a little more complicated. We spoke with the parents. They're from Kentucky. We get it. Whatever, right? So that one a little more complicated. I'll give that. But then you go to Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson from the state of Ohio visited Michigan so much the man damn near had a dorm room. He was damn near taking classes, bro. He went to lectures.
He was paying rent and everything.
He was in lecture hall. And then he commits to Kentucky. Deion Walker, who, by the way, arguably is the best defensive tackle. Some people will say he's the best defensive tackle in college football over Mason Graham, right? There are some that will argue that. I'm not one of them, but he's that good. Went to Cass Tech in Detroit. He's from Detroit. He's from Detroit.
Could you imagine Deion Walker and Mason Graham on the same defensive line?
I can't imagine it, but it would be ridiculous. Deion Walker, Mason Graham, by the way, getting spelled by Kenneth Grant, like unstoppable forces, all right? But anyway, don't get me excited, all right? Deion Walker, right, a stone's throw away. Like you could hit his house from the campus. He visited, again, another person who visited Michigan countless times, crystal ball to Michigan at some point. He goes to Kentucky as well. At this point, by the way, I forgot DJ Waller, kid that got the only interception in the game, the spring game. He jumped in the portal, committed to Kentucky. I don't understand. I just don't get it. It's Kentucky. If you want to go, if it was a different SEC school, I wouldn't be as upset as I am.
Like right now, to Bama or Georgia,
he went to like Bama. If they went to Auburn, I wouldn't be as upset. You hear me? Auburn, okay. But Kentucky, bro. I don't know if you've ever been. You've been to Kentucky. You've lived there or something, right? All right, here. All right, cool. No disrespect to Kentucky, respectfully, but disrespectfully, it's Kentucky. No.
Hey, if you're into horses, right, pastures, farms, wide open
I've got
fields,
family.
that's your place.
I've got family from Kentucky, right? As a kid, my family is from Lancaster, Kentucky. I'm not gonna put their last name out here because I don't want to blow up their spot because I'm about to say some things. Okay. As a kid, we visited Lancaster, Kentucky. As a kid, I wanted to get the hell out of Lancaster, Kentucky as fast as we got there. No. It's Kentucky. So I don't know, bro. At this point, Kentucky is my rival. I'm gonna go ahead and put that out there. Moving forward, I look at Kentucky through the same lens as I look at Lil Bro Nim. By the way, Kentucky's a bigger threat than Lil Bro Nim at this point for me.
You're not scared of Aiden Childs and them boys?
I'm not. I'm not the least bit afraid of Lil Bro Nim. But yeah, Kentucky's on a pedestal for me as one of my ops. They are my ops. And Michigan should be looking at them as the ops moving forward.
Is that game in East Lansing this year, by the way?
No, it's gonna be in the big house.
Okay, yeah.
We're gonna kill them. We're gonna
that game
them.
was maybe at East Lansing, maybe they keep it within 14.
Or 50. We beat them 49 to donut last year in East Lansing.
Aiden Childs is he's a good player, man. He's a good player.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Kentucky is balling. I had basic training in Fort Knox, Kentucky. Hey, I mean, I guess, bro.
No, like I know, and I saw your video the other night where you went on a rant about Michigan's NIL.
It's disgusting. Here, let me follow up because I'm sorry. I need a minute. Okay. In terms of private universities in America, I'm sorry, not private, public universities, because Michigan is a public university. In terms of public universities in these United States of America, Michigan has the second highest endowment of all of them, right? Only Texas A&M has a higher endowment per year. Now, granted, I know people are going to say endowment is different than
Well,
NIL.
Notre Dame is their stuff's not public, so
Well, Notre Dame
they're
is a private
supposed.
school.
Yes,
Notre
but
Dame's a private school.
they're supposed to be. Notre Dame is supposed to have like the second or third biggest endowment of any college football program, but it's not public knowledge.
Right. Which you can find it on the internet, but I'm not gonna.
Oh, yeah.
Notre Dame is a private school. They have a slightly larger endowment than both A&M and Michigan, maybe by a couple $1 billion. By the way, you hear what I'm saying? Billions of dollars are given to these schools year after year over year. Now, I'm not confusing endowment with NIL. I understand the endowment money can't be necessarily used for NIL. The point, though, is that the alumni base of the University of Michigan is such that NIL monies is not a problem. It should never be a problem. In fact, Jim Ross is one of those alumni. He's a billionaire. He owns the Miami Dolphins. He has a hall named after him at the University of Michigan. He financed that athletic department, basically the overhaul, all the construction that Schembechler Hall, right? He bankrolled that thing, okay? At least was part of it. You think he wouldn't give money to the NIL effort, the collectives of Michigan, to help them get the best possible players in to go to the University of Michigan? The answer is absolutely he would, right? And I'm sure he has donated to collectives. The problem, though, is Michigan's stance. It's not necessarily the money. The money is there, obviously. They just said the cap this year is that much higher than it was last year to keep the current players. But that's the problem, is that they're not giving money because their stance is, whatever it is about like giving high school money or high school kids money to come to Michigan. And at one point I was like, man, you know what? That's a good idea. I like it. Sounds like it's on the up and up. But you know what? The problem is nobody else gives a shit. Pardon my French. None of these other universities care about Michigan's stance. In fact, they prefer Michigan keep that stance. Keep not giving the kids money. Because we'll give it to them. You think Miami cares? Absolutely not. They've snatched some Michigan recruits. You think Kentucky cares? Obviously not. They're snatching Michigan recruits left and right. You think the other state cares? Of course not. I think right now their athletic department, keeping all that together, it's like $43 million.
They're almost damn near to $50 million to either retain, add, or acquire talent in either the recruiting
you see what I'm saying?
From the transfer portal.
Right. And by the way, I lived in Ohio, bro. I was born and raised in the state of Ohio. They're getting that from like people missing teeth are donating money to that because that's all they have is Ohio State.
Yeah.
It's Ohio State or the Browns. You think the Browns? What are the Browns doing? I mean, they made the playoff, I guess. Whatever. Yeah. LeBron left. They've got nothing. They've got Ohio State.
Dude, we were sitting in here 2 years ago.
No disrespect.
On the Maize Blue and Gold show, talking about this very same thing, and I was in the same boat you were because Notre Dame and Michigan were in the same boat with NIL, and I commented on your video yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, but I did say we were in the same effing position. This recruiting class, the 2025 recruiting class, is the first time Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman have been able to fully utilize NIL with no holds bars. And look at Notre Dame and where they're at.
Right.
There are people that legitimately think at 247 on 3 rivals, whatever, that Notre Dame is legitimately going to finish with a top 5 class. Something they have not done since 2012, by the way. Now, you can't tell me that has nothing to do with the NIL money. That definitely has something to do with it. if Michigan got involved in the NIL, there's no reason you guys shouldn't have top 5, top 10 classes every single year.
Right. Michigan literally has the second, I believe, largest alumni base in the country. Only Penn State has more. Like, it's disgusting. Let me say that. It's gross what's happening. Um is my phone going off?
You guys might need a change of AD. Like,
Well, you're speaking to the choir. Everybody and their mother wants that guy gone. I was a defender of Ward Manuel early last season. But I can no longer defend this. I can't. I can't stand by. There's nothing. I can't defend this.
I remember last year you were defending the whole NIL concept with Ward Manuel and, well, Michigan, we want kids to be here for the right reasons.
Right.
If you only want to be here for money, then this isn't the place for you.
Right.
Change
you know what?
that.
And I had to do some soul searching myself, because this is one of the things that I don't think people understand. And this is serious. I'm gonna be serious here. I'm not even faking this at all. Here are the facts. A lot of the top the most talented players coming out of high school, these 4 and 5 stars that you see, aren't coming from the greatest financial situations at home, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some that are doing well. I'm taking nothing away from that. But for the most part, there's a good amount, a big group of these people that aren't coming from the best situations at home or whatever, right? So when you get to the point when NIL, and because the NCAA has not put any sort of regulation in this thing, and by the way, let me take this time to say this is why regulation is needed. Yep. To those people who don't like regulation, by the way, if you don't like regulation and you don't believe in regulation, this country would look a lot different, right? If they didn't have to regulate the food that they fed you, if they didn't have to regulate the condition of the highways, if they didn't have to regulate the imports and exports, I can go on forever, but this isn't a political show. I won't do it. But in this case, regulation is needed, because if not, then you just have this like open market for anybody, and you get kids jumping in and out of the portal several times, right? Amorian Walker, in less than a year, has put on 3 different jerseys.
Caden Proctor.
It just happens to be 2.
Caden Proctor in a month. Yeah, in a month.
Right? Yeah, and by the way, he only went to he only committed to Iowa after to get that $100,000 or something like that, and then right back to Alabama, right, where he's going to get more money. So it's kind of gross, and without regulation, it's just going to be this. But by the way, until regulation happens, Michigan needs to get with the program. Kids are no longer. I talked to a guy whose brother went to Michigan, played at Michigan. I'm not going to say his name. He's a former Michigan player before NIL. He recently had a wedding, and that man's brother asked his brother and other players that went to Michigan that were at his wedding, hey, if you could get paid when you were in school, and would you still go to Michigan, or would you go to the highest bidder? They all said, I would go to the highest bidder, because it's no longer about these schools, bro. I grew up a Michigan fan my entire life. However, if I played football and I got the chance to go to Michigan, right, and they were like, hey, this is a transformational school and not transactional, right? I'd be like, okay, that's cool. But then, Indiana was like, hey, we got $2 million for you, buddy. Guess where I'm going? Indiana, right? And I don't even like the state of Indiana, but that's another story. Not for this, not for the airwaves, but you get the point, though. You get the point, right? Like it's about money. People act like you don't need money to do things in this world. You absolutely have, especially in America. This is a capitalistic country,
and there are ways money. You can get like Notre Dame fans are still very anti paying for play. I think there's a difference between doing what Notre Dame is doing now, or even what Ohio State is doing, than what Texas A&M was doing. There are ways to do NIL where you're paying for play that are right, to where you avoid the Texas A&M disaster that was the 2021 class. I think Michigan, and I think Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State, Bama, Georgia, those are the types of programs that are built to do that because they have a culture in place. Mm-hmm. Texas A&M didn't have a culture in place. It was, we're all flash, you're the SEC, we're money bags, Texas ATM. That's what that was. Notre Dame, you may pay a kid to come to Notre Dame, but Notre Dame has a built-in culture. Notre Dame, because we're paying you this money, is not going to let you act however you want to act. Same thing at Michigan. I don't care if Michigan's paying you $1 million. If you go to Michigan and they're paying you $1 million and you play like crap, they'll bench you. That's the culture. But yeah, I don't understand why it took this long for our.
It should be that way. Look, there are people who are gonna say, "Yo, well, what about the when graduating from Notre Dame means so much?" And I'm not here to say that it doesn't, right? If you are out here in the corporate world and you have a degree from Notre Dame, and Johnny has his degree from Terre Haute Community College, guess what? Your degree means more.
Yeah. And
unfortunately for Johnny from Terre Haute Community College. But in this case, right? And I'm sorry, I'll be quick here. In this case, if I get $1 million to go to Terre Haute Community College and you go to Notre Dame and you get nothing except for that degree, I now have the head start, right? Because I have $1 million to do with what I want, whether it be to invest in myself or invest into something that I want to invest in to try to grow that money. I have the head start.
But and that $1 million you can use to go pay your education at Notre Dame.
Thank you.
That's the thing, is like a lot of people don't realize, if I got millions of dollars, I could always go back to college.
Right.
And even if you were to go to a place like Notre Dame or Michigan, because our fans make a big deal about the degree, Michigan fans do the same because Michigan's a very high academic school, right?
Right.
I'm sure Michigan fans, especially the elder Michigan fans, are very prideful about that.
Right.
These kids, they can still get paid to go to Notre Dame and Michigan. They can go to the pros. And like we've seen with Jerome Bettis, former Notre Dame players like Sean Crawford, former guys like from Michigan that have came back and gotten their degree.
Yeah,
they can always come back. Right? They can always come back.
That's all I'm saying, bro. Look, NIL is the reality. It's the current situation. You got to play. Well, you got to pay to play. And it's not like these schools are hurting.
Yeah. So really quickly, before we get out of here, you did pick up a guy in the portal.
Yeah.
What's going on with Michigan recruiting recently? Any big moves? And who did you pick up in the portal?
We picked up CJ Charleston, wide receiver from Youngstown State. I know a lot of people.
And we got we got two receivers from FIU and Marshall. So
there you go. The guy from Marshall might be able to give
he played against Notre Dame.
Exactly, it was successful. But CJ Charleston, 30. I think he had like 33 catches a year ago, 503 yards, 4 touchdowns. It's just some depth at a position that we need depth at. It's not like we're blowing people away with our wide receivers right now. And then you add a Morian Walker to that. We did pick up defensive lineman Nate Marshall out of the state of Illinois. That's a massive get. Hopefully we can hang on to him.
What's with the whole stuff about him like flipping already?
Yeah. So there was a rumor yesterday, and I think it was because of like the Marquise Davis thing.
Oh, okay.
So a bunch of fans like were like, oh, and he'll be leaving too, whatever. So there's no like official, nobody of any salt has said anything about that, but he committed last week, which was big for Michigan because it had been like 4 months since we've gotten a commitment. And he is a like fringe 5-star player. I think he's like 35th in the nation, which there's only 32 5-stars, so he's right there. But yeah, I mean, that's where we are right now. We thought we had Marquise Davis in the bag. We did not. Avery Gatch is a in-state recruit who is a Michigan State legacy player, but has the crystal ball to Michigan. We'll see what that crystal ball means. He's supposed to be committing really soon, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So there's some stuff I didn't know if you, because I haven't seen you covered in your stuff, but few big recruiting battles between Notre Dame and Michigan going on right now. One of them just ended a couple days ago for Dallas Golden. Hold on.
That was not a big recruiting battle.
Hey, he was a top 60 recruit.
I'm not saying he wasn't good. I'm saying that Michigan wasn't in on him that the way that you made it seem.
Well, he just went on an OV there not long ago.
It was an unofficial visit.
Unofficial.
All right, thank you. All
right. But we got him over the likes of Michigan, Florida State, Florida, Georgia. Mm-hmm. He's an elite athlete. We're recruiting him at corner, but he could play safety, receiver, tailback. So anytime you get a guy like that, that's always welcome. But another guy, I know you guys talked about Quincy Porter.
Yeah.
Eric Meadows.
Yep.
Is another guy. I didn't know if you talked about him.
What about the corner Mark
Zachary. Had
Mark Zachary the fourth.
2 crystal balls for Notre Dame for Mark Zachary. He came out yesterday. Steve Wilfong put out an article that said that he's ready to make a decision.
Right.
Which when that happens the day after Dallas Golden makes a decision and Notre Dame's cornerback room is starting to like fill up.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of what I think it's between Notre Dame and Michigan, because Zachary's talked about education means everything to him.
Right.
As of right now, it seems like Notre Dame is the team to beat.
Yeah, I agree.
Derek Meadows is a guy that I think Michigan has a legit shot for.
Mm-hmm.
I still think he's a slight Notre Dame lean, but dude, when Notre Dame offered him, we've been on him for 2 years. When we first offered him, he was outside the top 300.
Right.
Alabama's offered him. Georgia's offered him. Florida's offered him. Florida State's offered him. Michigan's offered him. Ohio State. Everybody and their mom is after Derek Meadows right now. And he's a top 50 recruit right now. And there was a report that came out last week about his visit to Michigan and how well that went. And it seemed like Michigan gained a lot of grounds. What are your thoughts on how that plays out? Because we would love to have him at Notre Dame, but it seems like everybody and their mom now is all over because he's a top 50 recruit now.
Yeah, so I think that one's probably gonna go to the very end. I do think that right now it seems like 2 schools, but he's gonna take some more visits, I believe. So we'll have to see what happens. I believe we do land Gatch. I will say that. I think we are gonna get Gatch. But after yesterday, I'm kind of shell shocked. I don't want to, guarantee anything.
Kentucky does not have a hat at the table, do they?
Right. If Kentucky is in on it, then all bets are off. I got real beef with Kentucky. I'm not even joking. Real beef.
What if Nathaniel Marshall he flips to Kentucky and then
if Nathaniel Marshall flips to Kentucky specifically, I'm flipping this desk, and that is it. I'm shutting down the channel.
We should just ban Kentucky from any knowledge of Michigan recruiting. But no, I mean, outside of that, I don't know if there's really too much else going on with Michigan and Notre Dame recruiting. Our class, we've got 20 kids committed. Where's Michigan at right now? You guys got like 13, right?
Are you trying to be funny?
No, I'm being serious.
No, we
You
don't
got
have.
13, right?
No, we don't have 13. I think we
What
got
the
3.
hell? What?
Yeah,
Come
13.
on, Phil. What
Don't
are you
say these
doing?
things. But no, we went through a lot of like coaching change. So only recently things got stable. Esposito has only been there for less than a month, about a month. So
Well, damn. Are you guys gonna be able to get to the 20 mark before signing day? Like, I know I'd be
we're gonna be fine, bro.
Phil.
4.
You
Look,
at
my
this
bad.
point last
Justin
year?
corrected me. We have 4
4. Okay. 4.
recruits.
4. At this
4
point
commits.
last year, you guys were the number 1 recruiting class in the country.
Yep.
And didn't you guys have like a stretch from like March to July where you had like 12 or 13 commitments? Something crazy like that?
Oh yeah, we were on fire. We were on fire. A lot of those guys are not with Michigan now, but we were
They're either with Florida,
we were doing good.
Kentucky, like
Yeah.
no, dude, it's crazy. Notre Dame's got 20 commits. They're only expected to take 25 or 26. So it's getting down to like the nitty-gritty here. But we're already focused on the 2026 class, and we might have our 2026 QB already.
Alfred has a history of losing big recruits. 14 straight, Justin.
14
That's
straight,
absolutely right. 14 straight. But look, man. By the way, everybody here, make sure you like this if you haven't already. Subscribe to the Week 0 channel. We were trying to get to 1,000. It doesn't look like we got there, so help us get a little closer. Till next time, though. Brian, what you got?
So like always, go drop a sub, drop a like if you like the content. Like Phil said, we're trying to get to 1,000 tonight. But we'll be dropping some stuff soon. We're gonna be coming out with the player edits, the team pump ups, Michigan pump up. We'll be dropping in a couple months here. We'll be starting to get into starting next week. We're gonna be doing our conference breakdowns. When we talk about the Colorado stuff, which should be an interesting show to get into. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's been a really good show, Phil.
Yeah.
Take us out, my man.
All right. Till next time, stay angry, my friends.